Hello everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. And today I'm going to be giving you Julie Andrews movie recommendations that aren't The Sound of Music, Mary Poppins or The Princess Diaries. Because God knows everybody has seen those ones. So I'm going to try and make this into a series of videos focusing on different recommendations depending on what you're looking for in said movie. And so the theme for today's recommendations are musicals. Because God knows Julie can sing like nobody else. So the first movie I have to recommend today is Cinderella. So I'm sure you all know how this story goes. Cinderella is basically treated as a servant by her stepmother and two stepsisters, and then they won't let her go to the prince's ball. She does end up going with some help from her fairy godmother, but as she's racing out because she has to get home before midnight, she leaves one of her glass slippers, prompting the prince to throw an all-out search for her. This was a live production broadcast in 1957 while Julie was on a 2-week leave from My Fair Lady. It was written by Rodgers and Hammerstein, who were commissioned to write a musical about Cinderella, but it was basically written for Julie. As with everything Rodgers and Hammerstein and everything Julie, the songs are amazing. As it is, I think it's a bit hard to choose which song is the most well-known or even the best, but my personal favourite would have to be In My Own Little Corner. Link in the down below. And while it is the same story of Cinderella that is in every other version, there's actually a bit of a difference with this one. Julie says in her memoir they tried to make it realistic to an extent, which is obviously rather unusual considering it's a fairy tale. But I personally think that worked to its advantage. I think the realistic elements they put in it really work and are really unique. For something from the 1950s, Julie's Cinderella is actually pretty active. She's not passive at all. And yes, I am one of the people who thinks that Disney's Cinderella is not nearly as passive as people think she is, but Julie's Cinderella is hardly passive either. So I would definitely recommend this one. It's a unique twist on a fairy tale we all know. And it doesn't get as much love as it should because it's a TV film and not a theatrical release. Or you could just go and watch the Brandy version. My next recommendation is Thoroughly Modern Millie. This one is just pure fun. It's set in the 1920s and obviously Julie is the titular character of Millie. And Millie's come to New York in search of a husband. But not just any husband. She's going to marry her boss. So she takes the job that she does because she's convinced she'll be able to marry her boss. But of course, he ends up falling for her best friend, while Millie finds herself falling for another guy that's come along. And along the way, they all become friends with Carol Channing, who's actually connected to everything else a lot more than it would seem at first. And they fight off Millie's house mother who's trying to sell orphans to a Chinese opium den. Wow, that got dark, didn't it? Julie's singing in this movie is more background music than it is singing you will find in a normal musical. It's more like a soundtrack. But that doesn't make the songs any less awesome. So if you're okay with the Chinese opium den orphan trading part, the only thing I have to say about this one is beat the drums cause here comes Thoroughly Modern Millie now. A boop boop a doop. I'm probably awful at singing that. Next up on the list is Star. This was the film Julie made after Thoroughly Modern Millie, and it was probably the one that sent her career on its downward trajectory. But that was just because musicals were on the way out. But as for Julie's movie musicals, you will not get any better than this. This is basically 3 hours of Julie singing. It was directed by Robert Wise and produced by Saul Chaplin, the same guys who did The Sound of Music with Julie, so you know it's gotta be good. It's a biopic of Gertrude Lawrence, a big Broadway star in the early 20th century. She was the original Broadway Anna Leon Owens in The King and I. But the plot is pretty thin. The film follows her career on stage and all the shows she did far more than it does her actual personal life. That's in there, but it does take a backseat to all the shows and therefore all the singing. It's not quite a musical in the traditional sense of the songs being ways for the characters to get their feelings out. Every song is a performance and therefore real in a way that said metaphorical musical songs are not. but it's still 3 hours of Julie singing. So if you like the sound of that, give this one a watch. Next up we have Victor Victoria. This was the third movie Julie made that won her an Oscar nomination. She didn't get it. Meryl Streep got it that year. But her nomination was with good reason. This is a very tricky role to pull off. So the film takes place in the mid-1930s, and Julie plays Victoria. And Victoria is completely broke. One day she meets a nightclub performer named Toddy, and because she's so broke, she has to go back to his apartment to stay that night. And she ends up punching his lover, roommate, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, the next morning. That gives Toddy an idea that she can pretend to be a man and therefore become a very successful performer and make them both very rich. She agrees, and they end up creating her alter ego of Count Victor Grzinski, who's a female impersonator. So it becomes a woman pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of hijinks and problems that come with that, especially when she falls in love. The singing in this one is very similar to Star, in that Victor Victoria is a performer, so all the songs are performances and not really musical songs. But the songs are all still very good, and even if they're strictly performances, they actually do tie into what the characters are going through. The acting's great, and this, along with Star actually, is one of the funniest movies you'll ever see. It's got so many very funny moments. Plus, in 1995, Blake and Julie turned it into a Broadway show. It's very much the same story-wise, but there are a few songs that are actually straightforward musical songs and not performances. And some of those songs only appear in the stage version and not the film. There are themes of homosexuality and homophobia in both of them, but if you're okay with that, I say go watch them both and see if you can enjoy this crazy world. So next on the list is Darling Lily. This was the first film Julie made with her husband Blake Edwards. Like Star and Victor Victoria, the musical numbers in Darling Lily are performances, because Julie plays a concert hall performer. A concert hall performer that's secretly a German spy. It's set in World War I, and Julie's assignment is to get information out of a pilot, played by Rock Hudson. And to do this, she basically has to seduce him. You can probably guess what happens next between them, and they both have secrets, and because of that, the secrets they both have end up causing a lot of problems for both of them. It's basically a fictional Mata Hari story. The film focuses on the spy element just as much as it focuses on the musical, but if you are looking for a musical, I wouldn't rule this out. The music is lovely. It's written by Henry Mancini, so how can you go wrong? He did Victor Victoria and Breakfast at Tiffany's. And most of Blake's stuff. The songs are wonderful, Julie's wonderful, what more can you want? Finally, I'm going to give a special mention to High Tour. This came out in 1956 and was Julie's first performance on screen. I'm not going to go into this one too much, but the basics are Bing Crosby owns a mountain. I don't know why, but he does. And Julie plays the ghost of a dead Dutch girl from the 1600s, and they end up falling in love. Sort of. It sounds really weird when you say it, but there's not really any other way I can describe it. This was never released on DVD, but it is available online. Link in the down below. So there you have it. 5 movie recommendations if you want to watch Julie Andrews in a musical. And 1 honourable mention. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the movies if you choose to watch them. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these movies, if you like them, if there's any you want to see, any Julie movie in general you want to see. Thank you for watching, feel free to like and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. So long, farewell!